While we all get pumped up for the big game come February, the truth of the matter is that not all Super Bowls are created equally. We've had the good fortune in recent years to see some quality performances, but that's far from a far-gone conclusion. So let's take a look ahead at some of the top contenders in the league this year and call out 5 awesome matchups that we would love to see, and 5 that we definitely don't want to. Dream matchup, Baltimore Ravens versus Detroit Lions. Yeesh, talk about fireworks. This is the kind of matchup that would have casual fans on the edge of their seats and diehards drooling over the X's and O's and game-breaking plays. The Ravens are a juggernaut with Lamar Jackson at the helm. He's evolved into not just the most dangerous dual-threat quarterback in football, but also a passer capable of torching defenses from the pocket. When Lamar is on, Baltimore's offense is as explosive as anyone. The Lions, meanwhile, are the league's best feel-good story. Dan Campbell has transformed them from perennial doormats until legitimate contenders. Jared Goff, once cast aside, has reinvented himself as a steady hand, still capable of putting up big stat lines in the right system. On the field, this would be absolute chaos. Lamar breaking loose for 30-yard runs, Goff hitting St. Brown on precise timing routes, Hutchinson chasing Jackson around like a madman, Baltimore's blitz packages trying to overwhelm Detroit's line. Every single drive would feel like it could swing the game. In fact, this wouldn't just be a game, it would be a show in every sense of the word. Don't want Denver Broncos versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now on paper, this might sound like one of those classic strength versus strength Super Bowls. Denver brings one of the league's nastiest defenses, led by Patrick Surtain II and a front seven that feasts on mistakes. Tampa Bay, on the other hand, rolls out a wide-open passing attack with Baker Mayfield slinging it and Mike Evans still winning jump balls like it's 2016. Sounds fun, right? Well, wrong. The truth is, these kinds of matchups almost never live up to the billing. You sell it as unstoppable force versus immovable object. But what it usually turns into is the unstoppable force slamming into a brick wall and crumbling. High-powered offenses against elite defenses always seem to end up as blowouts. Remember when the Broncos had the top offense and were absolutely decimated by the defensively stout Seahawks? This would just be an Uno reverse version of that. Nobody outside of Denver or Tampa is clamoring for this one anyway. Broncos fans would love to see their defense crowned on the biggest stage, and Bucs fans would love a Baker redemption tour. But, I mean, come on. For the rest of us, this is the kind of Super Bowl where you're scrolling your phone by the third quarter. Dream matchup, Green Bay Packers versus Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, here's one that oozes NFL history. One of the most iconic franchises in league history, the Packers and Steelers colliding on the biggest stage of them all. And heck, this one comes with an extra layer of drama that would dominate every single storyline. Aaron Rodgers facing off against his old team. I mean, think about it. Rodgers spent 18 years in Green Bay, won 4 MVPs, delivered a Super Bowl, and then left under a cloud of tension, blame, and what-ifs. He tried to reset his career in New York, only to flame out almost immediately with injuries and front office chaos. And then, in the ultimate heel turn, he ends up in Pittsburgh. He goes on and knock off his former team on the biggest stage. Now that there is some Shakespearean-style football. It's rare that you get history, emotion, and pure football intrigue all in one package. But hey, Packers versus Steelers would deliver. This wouldn't just be a Super Bowl, it would be a grudge match for the ages. Don't want Washington Commanders versus Kansas City Chiefs. Alright, come on, let's all be real here. This matchup would be over before it even started. Hey, the Commanders are fun, sure. Jaden Daniels is electric. The new ownership has breathed some real new life into a fan base that has desperately needed it. And they're finally building something that resembles stability. But seriously, they are nowhere near ready to be on the same field as the Kansas City Chiefs in a Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes is in dynasty building mode. Andy Reid is still one of the best play callers of all time. And Travis Kelce, even if he's lost a step, is still uncoverable when it matters. And this version of the Chiefs knows how to win ugly. Heck, they know it just as well as they know how to light up a scoreboard. Not to mention that they're going to be out for blood this year after being humiliated in the big game last season. Washington is a nice story, but the truth is that they get smoked against a battle-tested team like the Chiefs. This matchup isn't just lopsided, it's forgettable. Fans outside of DC just wouldn't care. The game itself wouldn't be competitive, and the final score? Heck, something like 38-17 with Andy Reid pulling his starters by the fourth quarter. NFL fans everywhere deserve better than this. Dream matchup, Philadelphia Eagles versus Kansas City Chiefs. This is kind of the obvious one, right? The rematch America would actually want to see. On one side, you got Patrick Mahomes, who's in the middle of building what might go down as the greatest career that we've ever witnessed. And on the other side, you got Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles, a team that has made a habit of stacking wins, flipping rosters, and still finding themselves in the thick of NFC contention every single season. Oh, and they just so happen to be the defending Super Bowl champs. The Eagles didn't just win last year. They humiliated the Chiefs, marching to a 40-22 blowout that shattered Kansas City's dream of making history with a three-peat. Philly's defense was savage, posting 6 sacks, 3 turnovers forced, and Patrick Mahomes repeatedly rattled and sped up. Heck, who wouldn't want to see that again? Or better yet, imagine a thriller rematch where these two teams duke it out like they did back in 2022, when the Chiefs just barely edged out Philly. Mahomes looking to reclaim his throne, the Eagles aiming to cement their status as the NFC's ultimate powerhouse. That dynamic writes itself. Honestly, this one is about as good as it gets. 2 young, modern dynasties going head-to-head in Santa Clara. What more could you ask for? Don't want Pittsburgh Steelers versus Dallas Cowboys. Now this is nightmare fuel. Steelers-Cowboys might sound great on paper. Yeah, sure, it's 2 iconic franchises with massive fan bases, tons of history, and plenty of things and rings between them. But here's the problem, staring us all in the face. The main characters in this version of the story are Aaron Rodgers and Jerry Jones. And God, let's be real, nobody outside of Pittsburgh or Dallas wants to see either of those guys holding the Lombardi. First off, Rodgers. He flamed out of New York, landed in Pittsburgh, and suddenly the Steelers are hitching their wagon to a quarterback who hasn't been elite in years. Rodgers in the Super Bowl at age 41 would be a media circus filled with the usual mix of smug sound bites and conspiracy-adjacent ramblings. It's just exhausting. The idea of him getting another ring and the victory lap that would follow, yeah, I think that's enough to make most football fans queasy. And then we got Jerry Jones. Every Cowboy season feels like a soap opera, with Jerry Jones being in the middle of it all. From meddling in roster decisions to his endless press conferences to the never-ending America's team branding, the Cowboys are a headache that we just don't need at the Super Bowl. Imagine 2 weeks of Jerry grandstanding about how this is the team that he built, or how brave he was to trade away Micah Parsons, how he believed in Dak, and how the Cowboys are back where they belong. Yeah, pass. On the field, this wouldn't even be that fun. The Steelers' brand of football under Mike Tomlin is gritty and physical, but not exactly entertaining in a high-stakes setting. It'd be Rodgers thrown to an uninspiring group of weapons, trying to survive behind a shaky line while Dallas tries to pound the rock behind their defense and hope that Dak doesn't melt down. Yeah, sorry, but that's just not a clash that we have any interest in. That is an ugly slugfest that screams 20-16 snooze fest. Dream matchup, Buffalo Bills versus Detroit Lions. This would be football destiny. 2 franchises tortured, 2 cities starving for a Lombardi, colliding under the lights with history on the line. The Buffalo Bills, a team that made 4 straight Super Bowls in the 90s and lost every single one of them. A fan base that has endured heartbreak after heartbreak, watching Josh Allen rise to superstardom while still waiting for that breakthrough. The Detroit Lions, the poster child for futility for decades, finally resurrected under Dan Campbell. They turned grit into an identity, embraced the underdog role, and became one of the NFC's most feared teams. And yet, still no Super Bowls to claim. Imagine the stakes here. Somebody's curse would have to end. Bills Mafia versus Lions fans in Santa Clara, 2 of the most passionate, loyal, long-suffering groups in the NFL, descending onto the city with the entire football world rooting for both of them at once. And on the field, it would be fireworks. Josh Allen's rocket arm against Aiden Hutchinson and Detroit's pass rush. Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jamison Williams testing Buffalo's secondary. James Cook grinding out touches against a Lions front that's been stingy against the run. Every drive would feel like life or death. The emotional weight of the game would give you some goosebumps. One city finally breaks through and lifts Lombardi. Tears in the stands, fans hugging strangers. Decades of suffering washed away in one night. And oh boy, we guarantee that the reaction to this, if these 2 teams square off, would be absolutely electric. Don't want Philadelphia Eagles versus Buffalo Bills. Now, on paper, Eagles-Bills sounds like a heavyweight clash. These are 2 loaded rosters, 2 elite quarterbacks, 2 passionate fan bases that would absolutely show up. However, peel back the curtain and you start to realize that this might be one of the ugliest Super Bowls that we could possibly get. Stylistically, this has 3 hours of rugby scrums written all over it. Sure, Jalen and Josh would mix in some lightning strikes, but more often than not, we'd be stuck watching 3rd and 1s and 4 inches on repeat. The tush-push is a fun debate on Twitter, but God, it is a nightmare for the Super Bowl. Call it what it is, a game that would feel like a chore to watch. The Super Bowl should be about fireworks, Eagles-Bills would be a bruising snoozer, and nobody outside of Philly or Buffalo wants to see 3 hours of the tush-push decide a championship. Dream matchup? San Francisco 49ers versus Los Angeles Chargers. Now this one is just pure drama. Jim Harbaugh against his old team under the lights with everything on the line. Harbaugh is back in the NFL circus with the Chargers, and the league is already better for it. He's fiery, he's intense, he's got that old school smash mouth mentality, and he instantly turned LA into one of the most physical teams in the AFC. Now imagine him standing across the sideline from the 49ers, the team that he once led to a Super Bowl, the team that he clashed with, the team that he left under messy circumstances. The promos alone would be legendary. It is California versus California, the battle for West Coast supremacy, and it's happening in Santa Clara, the 49ers' own backyard. Can you just imagine the atmosphere? Chargers fans finally thinking that their team has a coach who can get it done. 49ers fans desperate to prove that they're better off without Harbaugh. 2 fan bases, 1 state, and only 1 Lombardi up for grabs. This is football theater at its finest. If you want storylines, star power, and the kind of edge that makes every snap feel personal, Niners-Chargers is the dream. Don't want Los Angeles Rams versus Los Angeles Chargers. The Rams are in a bit of a weird transition at this point. Yes, the LA versus LA thing would be kind of exciting, but come on, Matthew Stafford is aging, and who's to say that he could even make it through this game? Cooper Kupp is no longer in town, and while Puka Nacua is exciting, the roster feels uneven. The Chargers, meanwhile, are still trying to prove that they can deliver in big moments. And even with Harbaugh, that history of falling flat looms large. And instead of feeling like a Super Bowl, this kind of would feel like a glorified Week 17 game. The national hype would be pretty forced, and fan turnout would be awkward, especially considering Los Angeles' middling appreciation for the game that we all love. And as for the actual football, it's also likely underwhelming. But hey, what is your dream matchup for Super Bowl 60? What matchup do you hope to avoid like the plague? Who do you think we're right on here? What do you think we're wrong about? Was there anything that we may have missed? Let us know in the comment section below. If you liked this video and learned a thing or two, then hey, clicking the like button helps us out a ton. And you know, we really appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, then subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.